Hi folks, this is Matt. This is the FLX Trail 5 review. I'd like to set the stage a little bit by talking about the bike that I used for about 10 years before I got the Trail 5 and how I had intended to replace my usual mountain bike or to replace a pedal bike that has no motor, but it looks like that's what I'm going to be doing now because I remove the battery on a regular basis in order to get exercise on the trails, and the Trail 5 is good as a commute / utility bike and as a mountain bike. The sun is almost on me. I got to do this quick. So the Soma analog that you see is the one I've been riding for 10 years. I just broke the frame. The components on it are from originally a Palisades trail, but the frame that I was riding was a nail trail, and it took me 4 years to break that. It was a thinner aluminum. And let's see, the seat is from Tree Bike Company out of Missouri. The rear wheel is Spank, very strong wheel. I broke no spokes after I got that one. I was breaking spokes before that. I got that actually before I got the Soma frame. The crankset is an Amazon generic kind of smaller Chinese manufacturer. Carbon fiber pedals, same thing. Both hubs, Redline. Had some fun with bottom brackets. They are square taper on purpose. And let's see, RockShox fork. That one was not so good, but RockShox makes other good forks, I'm sure. What else? Headset Cane Creek. The bars are Moran. Yeti grips. And I think that's about it. And I'd like to kind of compare and contrast this bike to an earlier review I did in 2020 of an Ecotric Starfish. Some people paid attention to my channel because of the Starfish review, and I hope this is useful for you because I really am grateful for all the attention you gave me. I never in a million years expected over 4,000 people to pay attention to what I had to say about that e-bike. But if you did pay attention to that one, or that review, I think you're going to find this really interesting because this is really where I have focused my energy in the past few years. I'd say since 2004 onward, roughly. And let's, I guess, jump into saying what I do with the bike. What I do with the bike is mostly both utility and mountain biking. I don't like to think of having two different bikes. I've lived in a mobile way for many, many years, and I just prefer not to have like a suburban house and a garage where I have two different bikes for two different purposes. So I'm one of those people that likes to get both functions out of one bike. And I've been doing that for a long time, and it's been fine. I'm not a high-end competitor, so like I don't race mountain bikes. I do pretty well, like probably based on my age and skill, but I don't think that it's a good idea to buy something high-end just because other people are telling you to buy a high-end mountain bike or e-mountain bike. If you can make it do everything you want it to do without spending a lot of money, that's the key. So I was apprehensive. I didn't think that this FLX Trail 5 would do all of what I wanted it to do, but it actually is doing everything. So what types of mountain biking do? I think, according to professional mountain bikers, it's called cross country. There's a decent amount of uphill pedaling, plus downhill. Some more technical trails, single track trails with rocks and roots and all that kind of stuff. But I beat on my bikes. The aluminum frame is really sturdy. It's much more sturdy than the Marin aluminum that I used to have. It's gonna handle a lot of punishment. And the fork and brakes are also high quality for mountain biking. The brakes have 4 pads on each brake, and the frame is meant to handle quite a bit more punishment, like downhill level punishment. You can take my bike, the Trail 5, downhill and not really have to worry that much. It's not going to be as shock absorbent and flexible as, because it's a hardtail, but you'll get some good rides out of it even if you took it downhill. What I did instead of buying a full suspension bike is I put a shock absorber on the seat, and I added a rack instead. Their racks weren't available when I bought the bike. I probably would have spent the extra money to get their rack system, but I threw a rack on it. You'll see in the photos. Today I did not have my bike with me. I brought my boosted board. You can see it over here against the tree. I'm rounding up on 2,500 miles on the boosted board. That's a separate subject, but that's a lot of mileage off of a sheet of bamboo and I think oak or something in there. The utility side has been great too. I do grocery shopping, run all kinds of errands on the bike, and I have no complaints. I could load down probably a couple 100 pounds on it, and it's not going to really flinch. I know you're not supposed to do that kind of thing to the motor, but yeah, it'll handle it. I expect to at least get 3 years out of this motor, and I haven't felt any signs of strain. The one thing that I've noticed though is that if you're not careful with how you work with the gears, you're going to kind of strip the highest gear, the lowest cog on the cassette, and it's kind of an inevitability just because the M600 Bafang motor that I'm using is really powerful. It's got 120 Newton meters of torque, and in comparison to a lot of mountain bikes, it's in some cases twice as much. I think 60 to 95 is really common, and they went, balls out on this, so to speak. They also kicked it up to be a Class 3 mountain bike, which is pretty handy, especially for those that like to go fast and their state is, or their country has a gray area about how fast the mountain bikes can go. So it's, for my commute, I really like to go as fast as I can because it's just regular street riding, and I get there pretty quick at 25 approximately miles per hour on average. So the other thing, odometer, I can speak with authority about the bike now because I'm at 1452 in terms of miles. I'm going to roll it to 1500 in the first couple days of this week. To me, when I pay attention to reviews on YouTube, if somebody says they got 1500 miles off something, it's worth paying attention to because that's a decent amount of mileage. And I probably am going to get over 3,000 before the end of this year. I got the bike in March. I think I mentioned that already. Last is, I guess, geometry. I don't think there were more than one frame size. I'm kind of an average height or higher than average, and I've never had a problem with it. The seat bar does kind of reach its limit when you pull it all the way up. I'm 6 feet tall. So some people would say you shouldn't have the seat bar out that far, like there are lines. So you can always buy another seat bar and put the seat on it just to make sure if you're pulling it out that far. The frame itself doesn't really, I don't think it matters. Like if you're 6'4" or something like that, you just want to have the seat coming further out. So let's see about the chain. Because I've done so much mountain biking, I've done a lot of mountain biking in the winter in Wisconsin too. There was a point between 2009 and 2013 where I used my bike exclusively to get to work on purpose. I wanted to just say I'm committed to commuting by bicycle for a solid year without wavering. If I go to work, I have to take a bike. So I did that for 1 year. I was like, that wasn't that bad. So I added on another and then another. Took it up to 4 years. That's a good amount of time to understand what it's like to go to work in the snow in Wisconsin for 4 miles one way. So it's 8 mile round trip approximately. And so I've ridden mountain bikes in the winter quite a bit for commuting purposes. And I know what you're dealing with a chain, and I know how many miles will make a chain start to degrade, and it's always handy to have a chain tool with you. It's handy to have an extra tube and a pump with you. Just did that the other day. I came down some rocks and popped the tube on my FLX, and wow, the Forecaster tires are on those rims pretty well. But I learned a lesson this time. I thought that I knew everything when it comes to a simple tire change because I've done it so many times. And the boost lever can be a handy tire changing tool when you need it. It's a tire lever, so you don't need to carry a plastic tire lever because I thought I was going to break the plastic tire lever anyway. And the boost lever for the quick release is made out of metal, so it's going to handle any kind of punishment, and it's also not jagged or sharp edged, so it's good against a tire. When I first put on a chain, because I tried a couple different manufacturers, I would just remove a link. It would tighten things up and I'd be fine. You can't do that with this chain. I think if you remove one link, you're not going to be able to go into the lowest gears. If I had a bunch of money, I would not skimp on the kind of mountain bike I have, but I don't. So when I go mountain biking, I do like to control the amount of weight that I have, and if I can, I will. So I do remove the battery when I go mountain biking. If I went on vacation to, say, North Michigan or Colorado, I would leave the battery in. I don't know the trails that well, so I'd go uphill for a while, or I'd go distances, so I'd want the battery there. And then when I got the FLX, I'm like, yeah, I left the battery in. I wasn't getting such great times. And then I started biking regularly without the battery, and I'm getting even better times than I did with my Soma. So if you are a hardcore mountain biker, just remove the battery, or a cross-country mountain biker. You'll enjoy it. As a matter of fact, I have a feeling that there's going to be a market for that. I erred on the high end when it comes to weight and speed, and I know that, but I'm older. I don't want a bike that I can do aerials with and stuff like that, even though people are probably going to end up doing aerials on e-mountain bikes, believe it or not. But I like to do everything that I do when it comes to utility, regular mountain biking, and so far the FLX Trail 5 has done pretty well for me. FLX themselves too, the company, when I needed to ask them a question about the bike after I bought it, had to do with the thumb throttle and maybe the readout, the monitor. They got back to me really fast, and it was a non-issue. It was me not making sure that the cables were connected properly. So those guys are good about service. That's about it. I'm not being paid by them. I wouldn't mind being paid by them if this goes viral. And I know for a fact I'm going to get that much use out of it, $3,000 worth of use. It's not going to happen the first year, but I just know I'm going to. That's the way it is. And other people might be apprehensive, but if you can eliminate your commute and then also get exercise simultaneously, this is what makes a bike valuable. I just listened to The Breakdown, a recording with his guest Jim Bianco with CoinDesk's Nathaniel Whittemore, I think is his last name, and his podcast is called The Breakdown, and they were talking about the turn of the century bicycles on the London stock market. They were doing like the equivalent of SPACs and a lot of shell companies because there was such a rage for bicycles, and the number of bike companies for sale or that had their stock for sale in the stock market in London was insane, and it crashed. But that speculation at that time, based on all the state-of-the-art in manufacturing and what the potential was for work that a bicycle can do, it hasn't gone away. What's happened in the United States is people's view of the utility of a bicycle is really splintered, and they're easily influenced by their friends and bike dealers that tell them that they need to have a bike that is specialized for this purpose or that purpose. You don't have to listen to anyone. If you get something and it does what you want it to do, that's the most important thing. And that's about it. Signing off for now. I may do a 3,000 mile review right before the end of the year. Hopefully you'll stay tuned for this. There's other things I say on my channel, stuff about cryptocurrency and what else? Oh, tea. I do some things about tea. I bought this massive bag of tea. I'm going to cover that too. That's about it. Thanks for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.